Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about something that really needs to be said because it is such a ridiculously absurd and scary movement. And that's a lot of these circles out there that are telling people that fruits and vegetables are unhealthy in any way. Obviously the vegetable one, this is only the most extreme crazy fad diets. The problem is they have grown. Now the fruits, it actually has a much larger following with a little more rationale behind it, but we literally have people out there who are MDs in some way who are selling fad diets and pushing it, and large numbers of people are following it who actually believe that vegetables are harmful. All right, study after study after study after study after study after study after study, I could just repeat that 1,000 times, have shown that people who have more vegetables in their diets have lower all-cause mortality. They live longer, they're healthier. They have lower cancer, lower cardiovascular disease, everything. All right, so the hypothesis these people come up with is, about anti-nutrients and other stuff is so insane. It is so insane that all you have to do is look at any of the data out there to realize they are completely ludicrous con men, because they're not even crazy, they're literally con men. And I guess they take the position, I mean, the only thing I can think of is, either they're that greedy for money, or they take the position that maybe if they can convince someone not to eat vegetables, maybe it's just a Darwin award at play. That if they can make money convincing people of that, then that's what it is. And before people say, well, couldn't be that bad. Well, really, because there are people who sell narcotics for a living, There have been medical doctors who've been, arrested at different points for selling heroin and stuff. Okay, so that's the level of ethics that you're dealing with. Okay, and it's just ludicrous that anyone even buys into it. That's the scary part. Because again, the data is just overwhelming. And even the minor points most of them have about anti-nutrients, they just go away when you cook vegetables. That's it. The only logical conclusion, you could look at all the stuff they have with all these problems with those, and to some extent even when they deal with grains, you just refine the grains, that problem goes where you cook them. Okay, so when people are worried about them, like, well, stop eating your oats raw. Quit eating it raw, cook it. Same thing with your vegetables. If there's some GI tract distress, just cook it. Humans are well suited to cook food. We largely eat. Right? We're a cooked food species, like biologically. Okay, so there's that, and then the fruit one is just not as bad because at least people are going, oh well, sugar. But I've discussed in the past a lot about that with fructose metabolism. The things to keep in mind when you look at any of these studies, people come up with sugar and concerns with body fat and lipid profiles, that they're largely done in rodents. And here's the problem is we had a lot of studies from 20 years ago in rodents that came up with hypotheses that people applied to humans, particularly regarding carbohydrate metabolism, that were debunked in humans. It turns out, guess what? There are some metabolic differences between rats and Homo sapiens. It turns out we're not identical. There's a lot of similarities, but we're just biologically not the same. Our metabolisms are the same. A lot of our biochemistry is different. A lot of our cellular functions are different. They're very similar, but we're not the same species. Our metabolic systems do not function exactly the same. Well, it turns out that that's the case with a lot of it. The other things to think about, sugar in general, when we think of just simple carbohydrates, are what we use for fuel. It's our primary fuel source. And if we have a problem tolerating that glucose, we are very, very, very sick. Fortunately, there's a lot of medications we have to treat some of those conditions people are born with today, so they don't have to have those problems. But by and large, A healthy human being should never have a problem with glucose. Right, that's an indicator of either being born with a terrible disease like type 1 diabetes, which is a terrible disease. It sucks. Right, it sucks. Like, I feel bad for people born with it. It's a bad deal. But as far as the type 2, it's lifestyle induced. It's curable to some extent, not completely, but it can be taken to asymptomatic. But that doesn't mean that carbs are the problem, or glucose. So, we're dealing with that. And number one. Number two, you're talking about fruit. Most of the fructose in fruit gets metabolized by the gut before it reaches the bloodstream. Okay, and we can handle certain amounts of fructose. There's different processes in the body to deal with it. Enzymic processes, liver processes, and when it becomes excessive in the bloodstream, it can become a problem when it's chronic. Well, that doesn't really happen from fruit to anywhere near the same degree because we absorb it slower than we do table sugar or high fructose corn syrup. We absorb it slower. Our gut flora has time to break it down, ferment it, turn it into glucose. And then it becomes our normal, regular fuel source. All right, so it's not the problem that people would try to make it out to be unless they're totally carb phobic, which, again, it's our preferred fuel source of our body. In fact, the longest lived populations on Earth eat diets that are like 80% carbohydrate. Okay, come on, get realistic here. This is a problem, we would know about it. And it's just not the case. But even then, the problem is, so we handle it well. We can convert most of it, and it's just a great source of vitamins, antioxidants. So, it's not just things like the vitamin C. You start looking at all the antioxidants and polyphenols and everything. They're really high in fruits. Fruits are extremely healthy. And fruit intake is not even linked to obesity. It's inversely correlated. In other words, even when you look at the data there, the people who eat the most fruit, on average, have lower rates of obesity than people who eat less fruit. They have lower rates of cancers, cardiovascular disease. Okay, this is what the data shows. So again, it's not as pronounced as the stuff in support of vegetables, but it is still there. It's just that they have some minor ground to stand on because of the fruit sugars, but they're really not the problem. Again, no society is becoming unhealthy because they're eating too much fruit. Okay, this is not happening. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.